Yo, how's it going? But back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about how the Oklahoma City Thunder may have possibly gotten a blessing in disguise from the Chet Holmgren injury. Now, before I get into this video, and before you bash me in the comment section, I am not saying it is a good thing Chet Holmgren got injured. I am just taking the good from the bad, okay? I'm not saying in any way the Thunder should be happy he's injured or that it's a good thing he got injured. That's far from what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there could be some good things that do result from him being injured is what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to begin to a few reasons in this video why I think maybe it could work out in the long run for them and how it might not all be a bad thing. Now, yes, obviously it is a bad thing, but why it might not be 100% completely awful for this Thunder team. So that does sound interesting for this video. Please hit the like button and subscribe button. I mean the absolute world to me. And without further ado, without rambling on too much, just get right into this video. So the first reason I want to get in for this video is going to be that they're gonna have a chance at the #1 overall pick once again. Now, the reason this is a huge deal, more so than in prior years, is because of a man that goes by the name of Victor Wembanyama. If you haven't got to know who he is yet, let me just introduce y'all a little bit. Victor Wembanyama is a 7'3" player with an 8-foot wingspan who is an absolute freak of nature. Now, he's not your average 7'3", 8-foot wingspan guy. Yes, I said he's not the average guy. There's not many people like that, but out of those people that exist that are probably like him, he is insanely talented for the size that he is currently at. He can come off the screen and shoot. He can shoot over you. He can dribble the ball. He can pass the ball. He's an elite rim protector. He's an elite rebounder and can pretty much do anything you ask him to do on the court. He literally can shoot threes at a consistent level, contested threes, or at least as contested as a player can do. It is very hard to contest someone with an 8-foot wingspan who is already 7'3". So, I mean, he is just an absolute freak. And he is the reason why having a chance at that #1 overall pick this year is so ridiculously valuable, because last year, with basically this exact same roster that the Oklahoma City currently have, exception of a few rookies and a few other young guys that they did add, they are going to be basically going into the season with the same exact team. Now, yes, I do understand that the young guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, and Lou Dort, they're all going to improve a little bit going into the season, so they're probably going to be slightly better as a team than they were last year. But due to how they're trying to do this long-term rebuild and they're trading for a whole bunch of picks and things like that, they're probably still going to be quite a bad team, especially with Chet Holmgren out of the lineup and out for this season due to a foot injury that he suffered in the offseason. So I do think that with how bad they're probably going to be, they're going to end up tanking about midway through the season, which is going to increase their chances at the #1 overall pick. And what makes it better for them, because like I said, they're probably going to be a little bit better than they were last year, just from internal development. Some of the rookies might improve, and they just might be a little bit better than they were last year. But why that's not exactly a horrible thing is because they're still going to be developing and getting valuable development that you have to have as a young team, but they're also going to be in a very high chance of still getting the #1 overall pick because of the new rule that was passed a few years ago, where I think it's like the bottom 4 teams all have the same % chance of getting the #1 overall pick. So even if they are only the 4th worst team and not the worst team, they still have a very high chance of getting that #1 overall pick. So I think for sure, just the chance to get Victor Wembanyama is a ginormous plus for the Oklahoma City Thunder, because I do think if they had Chet Holmgren, they probably wouldn't be in the bottom 4 of the NBA. They would probably be at least bottom 10, but they would probably be too good to the point to where they would have a much lower % chance at snagging that 1st overall pick. Now, they do also have the Clippers pick, but the Clippers are probably going to be really good this year, so I don't think that's going to come into play at all. But even if they don't get that #1 overall pick, the #2 guy is just as good, which is Scoot Henderson. Not just as good, but he is a very, very good player and will probably also be a superstar level player. And in any draft that didn't have this freak of nature Victor in it, he would probably also be the #1 overall pick. So I think for sure, just them with a high chance of getting a top 2 pick in this this year's draft coming up is a huge plus for this team going forward, and I'm sure their GM is already looking at it, praying to God that they do win the lottery going into next season. And then another reason is going to be help them in a very long term, not just from getting a Victor Wembanyama or maybe a Scoot Henderson perspective, but just from a really development-like perspective. Chet Holmgren, in my opinion, even if they had him, they still would not even have been a play-in contender this year. They still are too young, but a lot of these young guys, if Chet was there, probably would be losing a good amount of minutes. But now the rookies like Ousmane Dieng, both the Jalen Williamsons, or even Poku still, should all be getting much more minutes than they would have before, and they should all be able to get very important developmental minutes this year, because they probably are going to be bad, so there's going to be a lot of garbage time minutes that they're going to be able to play in, and anytime those rookies and really young guys can get playing time, that is always going to improve them, and Shai Gilgeous is going to get better, same with Giddey. They're all going to build chemistry together, and when they're ready to bring Chet in, and hopefully if they win the lottery and get Victor Wembanyama, they might have a starting lineup of something like this going into the 2023 and 2024 season, just a year from now. At point guard, they would have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. At shooting guard, they would have Legence Dort. At small forward, Josh Giddey. Power forward, Chet Holmgren. And at center, Victor Wembanyama. The power forward and center duo by themselves would be absolutely insane. Now, although I'm not the biggest Chet Holmgren fan, I do still think when he's healthy, he's going to be a problem. He has a ton of length, and you just cannot deny his potential, and he is one of those unicorn level players as well. And then you combine Victor Wembanyama, who is somehow more of a freak than Chet Holmgren, and even has higher potential with his length, athleticism, skills, and all those type of things. Both of them playing together could be almost league breaking due to how special both of them could be if they hit their potential. And then you combine an all-star level player like Shai, a young guy that's developing like Josh Giddey, and a great defender and hustle player like Legence Dort. If you just fill out their bench, which they easily could with like draft picks that they all have, they could trade for players, get bench players, sign players, and all you have to do is fill out your bench. The Thunder could be extremely scary going into the next season. Even if they get Scoot Henderson, you could have a starting lineup of Shai, Scoot, Josh, or probably Scoot would be the 3. Probably not, he's only 6'2". They would have to work it out some way, but it would still work however they did it. And either way, if they get the top 1 or 2 pick, this team could be extremely dangerous going into the future, and it could greatly help this rebuild from a long-term perspective from many different ways. So although Chet Holmgren getting injured is an awful thing, and it sucks that he can't play, if they win the lottery or even get a top 2 pick, this team is going to be one of the scariest for probably years and years to come going forward, especially if they get Victor. If they get Victor, they might become a contender within 1 to 3 years of drafting the guy, especially if Chet can stay healthy and they can build chemistry. I think for sure that's how good they could be if they win the lottery, and I think the only way they win the lottery is if Chet got hurt and was out for the season, and that is exactly what happened. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first dose of combo. Do you agree with me? Do you think that Chet Holmgren getting injured could have a silver lining to it, and it could actually help them going in the very long-term future, especially if they get Victor Wembanyama? On your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like the video at any point, hit the like button and subscribe button. It would mean the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day, have a blessed day, so you have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.